Could a single choice to switch to U.S. LNG turn the European economy upside down? Consider an electricity bill that triples overnight. Europe's energy policies today may mean that people struggle to heat their houses tomorrow and businesses fail due to crushing costs. This is more than simply an energy option. It's a high-stakes bet that might tip Europe over the edge. So, why did they make this decision? The European Union's decision to switch from Russian gas to expensive American LNG has sparked heated controversy. According to Bloomberg, this move might result in hundreds of billions of dollars in additional costs over the next decade. But is the desire for American LNG solely for energy independence? Some commentators, including Politico, believe von der Leyen's decision to use U.S. LNG was largely affected by U.S. political pressure, notably Washington's stance on restricting Russia's economic influence. Critics point out that von der Leyen's rhetoric nearly perfectly matches with U.S. geopolitical aims. This partnership might cost Europe dearly as people grapple with mounting costs and industry doubts their future on the continent. What's causing this shift? National security or foreign influence? Europe's industrial sector, particularly in Germany and France, relies on low-cost energy to remain competitive. However, with U.S. LNG costing almost 4 times what Russian supplies did, these sectors are jeopardized. According to Eurostat statistics, energy-intensive sectors like steel, chemicals, and automobile manufacturing are seeing rising operating expenses, prompting some businesses to downsize or even migrate operations to more cheap places. BASF, one of Europe's top chemical companies, has previously hinted at reducing operations in Europe owing to high energy prices. This tendency jeopardizes thousands of jobs and the entire basis of Europe's economic stability. Could Europe's manufacturing base withstand such a drastic change in energy policy? Now, this may sound like a conspiracy, but stick with me. Some analysts, particularly those quoted by Reuters, argue that Europe's policymakers may see deindustrialization as a necessary step toward a greener economy. With the EU's stringent environmental laws, Europe's high-energy industries may be deemed disposable in favor of cleaner, less energy-intensive sectors. But here's the risk. The loss of these industries has an impact on more than simply jobs. It transforms Europe's whole economy. What happens if heavy industry leaves? Are we looking at a deliberate fall in Europe's industrial production, or is this an unintended consequence of strong green policies? The conflict between affordability and alliance is heating up, both physically and metaphorically. According to CNBC, more than 60% of Europeans distrust their government's commitment to affordability. With energy costs soaring, individuals are questioning if backing the U.S. against Russia is worth the cost to their own livelihoods. Public dissatisfaction in France and Germany is already building, with protests over energy prices and government policies. Citizens are beginning to question how much our government values our devotion to the West. It is a difficult topic, and as winter approaches, the answer will become even more important. For European businesses, this is more than simply an abstract policy. It is an existential menace. According to Eurostat, many firms are now facing energy rates that are 4 times what they had budgeted for. Some are finding it hard to continue operations at current rates. Siemens, for example, recently stated that energy prices are significantly reducing their bottom line, pushing them to consider outsourcing manufacturing to Asia, where energy is still more inexpensive. If these price trends persist, the European business landscape might change dramatically. Could European industry become relics of the past? For decades, Europe has a steady economical energy agreement with Russia. However, subsequent sanctions and political developments have brought that partnership to an abrupt stop. Europe's dependence has evolved, but not toward full energy independence. According to The Economist, Europe is becoming increasingly reliant on the volatile U.S. LNG market, where prices swing in response to global demand. This transition is dangerous. Without a consistent supply at a reasonable price, Europe may find itself in the same situation of reliance, albeit with a new provider. And although the EU speaks about energy security, the fact is that this security might be as precarious as ever. The irony here is rich. Europe's politicians frequently talk about obtaining energy independence. However, by committing to pricey U.S. LNG, they are preparing themselves for another type of dependency. The Wall Street Journal has reported that the EU's energy destiny is now inextricably linked to U.S. interests in the global LNG market. This is not actual independence. It's a new form of reliance, one that might expose Europe to future price increases or supply disruptions. And, while Europe's leaders profess to be making progress towards stability, it appears that they are simply generating a new type of instability. This shift in energy policy has a profound personal impact on the typical European household. According to The Guardian, homes' energy expenses are rising by up to 30% compared to last year, forcing some families to make difficult decisions, such as cutting up on basics to keep the heat on. This is not only about high-level politics, it's about real people facing real costs. And when winter comes, the impact of these energy choices will be felt in ways that no policy discussion can mitigate. Will Europe's leaders continue along this route, with citizens bearing the brunt of the decisions? As temperatures drop, the reality of growing energy expenditures becomes brutally obvious. According to BBC News, governments throughout Europe are already receiving record numbers of applications for energy assistance programs. While these programs provide temporary help, they are frequently underfunded and can only cover a portion of the expenditures for families in need. If heating and power expenses continue to rise, energy poverty may become the new normal across Europe. Families that cannot afford basic utilities may experience severe winters and, in some circumstances, life-threatening situations. How long can European governments continue with these support programs, and at what cost? Europe has long been a hub of industry and innovation, but rising LNG costs are threatening that reputation. According to OECD data, Europe currently has some of the world's highest LNG costs. Compare this to Asia, where energy costs are far cheaper. When it comes to global competitiveness, energy cost is not a trivial consideration. It may mean the difference between success and failure. Competing against countries with cheaper energy is a difficult task for European businesses. These high energy costs are causing European enterprises to either pass these expenses on to customers, increasing prices and decreasing demand, or relocate to locations with lower energy costs. Eurostat has said that this energy change might result in a 10% decline in European exports, reducing the country's worldwide economic importance. If these trends continue, will Europe's industries survive? Or are we seeing the start of a fundamental power shift in the global economy? Europe's industrial industry, already struggling with high labor costs and tight regulations, now faces a new challenge: increasing energy prices. According to the Financial Times, as European manufacturers struggle with growing prices, developing economies in Asia and Latin America are booming, providing low-cost production and energy. Take the German car sector as an example. One of Europe's proud industries is presently under severe strain. Car manufacturers, notably Volkswagen and BMW, have reported large profit margin declines as production costs rise. This move not only harms individual businesses, but also jeopardizes whole industries. If manufacturing shifts away from Europe, the region may lose its status as a worldwide leader, allowing rising economies to fill the gap. The question is whether Europe can remain an industrial powerhouse in a world where energy prices govern profitability. Aligning with U.S. energy interests has political benefits, but the economic cost is rising. Europe's leaders are standing in solidarity with the United States, but the New York Times recently questioned the cost of their allegiance. What if backing the U.S. position on Russia comes at the expense of Europe's own economic stability? High energy bills are more than just an annoyance. Experts fear that they might become a lasting impediment to economic recovery since businesses are unable to plan ahead or control spending. The risk here is that Europe's economic fundamentals may deteriorate to the point where recovery is impossible. Without inexpensive energy, Europe's sectors, from automotive to technology, risk collapsing, placing the region in a long-term economic decline. Could this alliance with the United States signal the start of an irreversible downturn? In the near term, Europe's energy transformation has been expensive, but the long-term consequences may be far more frightening. According to World Bank researchers, high LNG costs will continue to put a financial pressure on Europe, depleting money that could otherwise be used to assist infrastructure, healthcare, and social services. Consider the costs for the next 20 years. If European governments continue to pay high costs for U.S. LNG, other areas of public spending will suffer. Budget cuts might hinder Europe's growth in a variety of areas, including social services, education, and green technology efforts. Europe's long-term economic health is at jeopardy. Its financial stability might be permanently harmed if money are diverted into pricey energy imports on an annual basis. Could Europe become locked in an energy pact that harmed its economy for decades? Energy security should bring peace of mind, but in Europe, it may instead serve as a new source of danger. The Economist has stated that while energy security is critical, Europe's plan may backfire by enforcing high-cost, long-term commitments that undermine economic stability. Mismanaged energy security efforts might become a trap. Europe is paying a premium for American LNG on the belief that it will lead to stability. What happens if these expenses continue, or worse, rise? Economic specialists warn that without major pricing modifications or a diverse energy plan, Europe's search of security may become the root cause of instability. Could this energy route, selected for stability, eventually prove to be Europe's undoing? The energy crisis in Europe is far from over. It's a watershed event that will influence the continent's future for centuries. With rising costs, declining industrial production, and growing public anger, Europe's bet on U.S. LNG might mark the beginning of an irreversible transition. The issue today is whether Europe can reverse direction before it is too late, or if it is already too entrenched in its energy dependence to do so. Here's what makes it even more crucial. This energy dilemma is not only a European concern. Its consequences are expected to spread throughout global markets, affecting everything from commodity pricing to global economic power structures. So what will happen next? We're delighted you appreciate the video. Please like and subscribe. Check out the video that is currently on your screen.